Konnichiwa!
Yo, Nick and Steve, you coming out tonight?
No, man, we're staying in to check out our brand new Sega console.
Sega? What's that?
Check this out.
Welcome back, and in today's show we're going to be looking at some of the worst covers on the Sega Master System. Now, every system has its share of bad covers, but the Sega Master System seems to have more than most. We're going to be looking at some of the worst cover art in my collection, but before we do that, we're going to be asking, why does the Sega Master System have so many games with terrible cover art? Now, the one thing you'll notice about all these games on the Sega Master System that have terrible cover art is that they're consistent. And my theory here is this was actually Sega's branding for the Master System. Now, we see this consistency on other consoles and on later consoles as well. The PlayStation and PAL territories had this very consistent and simple black and white spine artwork, whereas in the US and Japan they had more colourful, interesting artwork on them. Now, as a first-party games developer at Sony and Microsoft, I know that usually game teams don't get to choose their artwork for their game covers. This is usually done by marketing, and it's so that they can get the brand consistency that they want for their advertising campaigns. And I can imagine back in the day for Sega this was true, but perhaps for games that they published, or even all games that they had on their systems. They would have built out brand guidelines that stated that the game had to have a white background and a simple graphic. They may even have taken on the graphic artwork themselves. So the reason why I think the Sega Master System has so many games with terrible artwork is because it was a branding thing. Sega wanted to brand their games to appeal to a certain audience and to look consistent. And looking at the branding of it, you've got to think that perhaps they were aiming their games at a younger audience. Now, fortunately for the system, this branding strategy didn't stay around for too long, and we started to get better and better artwork. But before we got this awesome stuff, we had to go through some of the crappiest covers seen in the games industry. And here are 6 of the worst covers in my gaming collection. First up, we have the Ninja. It's a pretty decent game, but its cover is terrible. First off, we got this perspective on the Ninja star, which is pretty awful, and the ninja seems to be wearing a black bag with a hole cut out over his face. Also, I don't understand why his whole outfit just couldn't be black. He's got his grey bin bag on his head, and then he's wearing this kind of mid-light blue costume as well. Also note the classic composition of the whole box. This small corner here, which accounts for what, maybe 1/5 of the entire box, is where they sell the game to you. The rest of it is pretty much negative white space. And back in the day, if you saw these two games side by side, you probably would have picked up Master of Combat rather than the Ninja. Outrun, a huge arcade classic and a hit on every single system that it went onto. And this is the artwork for it. This little car here with, I think it's a guy with an orange afro in the back here, is how they sold the game to you. This was it. No Ferrari. I mean, they had the licensing Ferrari. Why didn't you put the Ferrari on the front cover? But yeah, this simple branding for the Sega Master System meant that an absolutely fantastic arcade port for the Sega Master System ended up with this pretty naff cover. So let's break down what we see in here. Well, we've got the palm tree, which I guess is on point with the game. We've got our guy with the orange afro. I mean, I can't, even looking at the box art, I mean, the girl's got blonde hair and the guy's got black hair. I don't know where they got this from. There's no Ferrari. There's this kind of cartoony car, which I guess is Ferrari-esque. It's red anyway. Then he's kicking out a ton of smoke at the back there. Probably needs to get his exhaust fit. It's the 2 Mega cartridge, and if you didn't know that, there's a banner along the top here which explains what 2 Mega cartridge means. Apparently it's twice the power, twice the Mega power. Yep, another bad cover for the Sega Master System. Next we got Great Basketball, but it's actually probably more average basketball than great. It's the Mega cartridge, and this time we've got for 1 to 2 players on the front cover. Pretty cool. So we got the basketball on the front here, which is a great start. We got these cool go faster stripes to show that it's action based. And then it seems that the artist had some kind of budget cuts because he only could afford to draw 3 fingers on the character. Next up, we have one of my favorite games on the Sega Master System, Secret Command. It's pretty much Rambo, but with a crappier name. The gameplay was awesome, the graphics were fantastic. You controlled your Rambo character, going around, saving prisoners of war, getting bows with explosives strapped to them, and killing a ton of bad guys. But you wouldn't get a sense of the action or the coolness of this game from the front cover. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this is a water pressure game with a karate kick reject from Cobra Kai. Enduro Racer! It's a pretty cool game. It's a dirt bike game where you get to go over ramps, take multiple paths. The graphics were pretty cool and the sound was alright. I mean, it was not bad. And to be honest, it's probably one of the better of the worst covers. The bike here looks pretty decent. Again, like great basketball, we've got these dynamic stripes coming off of it. We've even got a bit of environment art that makes it into it. Although I don't know what's going on with the guy's hands here. I mean, is he wearing marigold washing up gloves on his hands? And last up we have World Grand Prix. It's a pretty average racer. It's nowhere near the quality of Outrun, but it's pretty decent. The explosions in it are absolutely fantastic though. You look at this game cover and it is probably one of the worst of the bunch. It's almost like an advert for a washing up liquid for the 60s. We'll get your whites, whiter than white!
Only new Oxidol gets clothes detergent clean, bleach white, and helps remove stains as no other suds can.
Whilst I love the cover art for games like Ninja Gaiden and Speedball, I'm really starting to appreciate the simple branding that Master System started off with, and I've started to collect more and more games. It's always like a surprise, you know, what game I'm going to get, because you're not going to find out from the cover. Now before we go, some of you may be wondering what that awesome tune was that introed us to the show, and it was MC Nick and Steve's Do Me a Favor Master Mix 90, and it was a promotional tape that Sega and Virgin joined up together to give away with Sega Master System. Hey, if the awesome cover art of the games wasn't enough to get you to buy the system, then this free tape surely would be. Hey, if you're a big Sega or retro gaming fan, then why not consider joining the community here at Retro Gamer Boy by clicking on my little pixel head below. And if you want more great videos, then click on one of these 2 videos over here.